Let's review what is the Phygital Fashion Emporium and how is it developed. For this project, I designed a digital fashion collection titled Looped. The Looped collection features mix and match print designs intended to promote fashion system education. Each print was designed with a quirky, eco-centric backstory. The goal of this print collection was to express fashion transparency to the consumer through a visual medium. Hopefully, by incorporating transparency into our clothing pieces in such an obvious way, the hypothetical customer would be reminded long after the tags were removed what philosophy they bought into. With this collection, I explored the ways in which the design of an augmented reality interface can empower the consumer to virtually try on, interact, and shop through a 3D interface. By digitizing runway presentation and the in-store experience, my project proposes that we can democratize the industry of fashion because this space allows for smaller or local designers to compete on the same level as high-end and corporate fashion brands. By remediating runway storytelling through the use of augmented reality and 3D graphics, each customer can become an active participant in their e-commerce experience. Augmented reality superimposes a computer-generated image onto a user's view of the real world. The core mechanics behind how you would navigate my interface design are directly influenced by my early experiments in virtual reality. This informed my decision to conceptualize my interface design as an experience which oscillates between the virtual and the real. The core of this project is about crafting a new e-commerce experience. If you compare visiting a brick-and-mortar J.Crew next to visiting a place like the Gucci Garden, they look quite different. But notice how similar they look online. These high-end brands like McQueen and Dior blend right in with Patagonia and H&M. In the spring, I participated in the Sweat Equity Challenge hosted by the Office of Research Commercialization at NC State. Through this program, I interviewed 20 potential customers, ranging from brand owners, e-commerce representatives, and everyday consumers. While I was studying value proposition and customer segments, I was able to gather enough information from these interviews that really validated my original research question. Here are the quick highlights. Participating in New York Fashion Week is expensive, yet fashion brands see value in the marketing opportunities that it offers. The most frustrating part of participating in a virtual runway event for Andrea was the lack of control over final presentation. Sale transactions made on a website primarily occur on a cell phone as opposed to a laptop or desktop computer. Brands are already using social media to connect with customers, but they're leery of Instagram Shop. One of the reasons being that the current format of Instagram encourages endless scrolling. For brands like Doan, they want their customers to spend more time with the brand's content. All of the brands I interviewed stated that they would continue to place more emphasis on their digital shopping experience. Laura, the owner of Lilanlu, on her own accord, said that she wished she could give her customers a place to explore and discover, similar to how they would in store. Her current solution is capturing video content for Instagram stories. At the end of all these interviews, I asked if they would consider hiring a third-party solution to build a more interactive, media-based experience for their online audience. They all said yes. There was even discussion about replacing brick and mortar altogether, since the overhead is quite high with hard-to-measure return value. Here is a snapshot of the software I am using. I won't go into depth about them individually, but I will share a more general overview as I break down my workflow. Unreal is a 3D creation platform used for game development, VFX, and any other real-time application. After modeling in Maya, I started building a working elevator within the engine. Previously, in my virtual reality explorations, I observed how easily you could manipulate the environment. If I wanted the user to feel as if they were shopping, I needed a real-world reference that could set this tone, especially since my concept is already a little unconventional. I flirted with the idea of actually building this thing, but I discovered that the AR Core SDK with Unreal just hasn't been supported like many of the other packages within the engine. Instead, I decided to focus on a virtual production workflow where I refined my project's end deliverable. I will create a video walkthrough of the Phygital Fashion Emporium application featuring the collection Looped. It will showcase the app's interface design, feature 3D spaces, dancing models, and interactive AR content. More specifically, the AR component includes virtual try-on sessions, the option to bring the dancing models into your personal space, and the opportunity to bring any asset within the 3D world into your own for a more personal, Instagrammable moment. If you're unfamiliar with any type of 3D workflow, the challenging part of working across a number of different software like I am doing is the fact that all of these programs have specific and unique ways of interpreting data and information. It could be shaders, time interpolation, simulation steps. This drove my decision to first attempt a simpler workflow, which then I expanded to a slightly more ideal and robust workflow. In Scenario 1, the goal was to get the garment textured and animated with the model in iClone, because I knew that I could export out a PNG sequence of the animation with transparency. This means I could composite this content on top of any other pre-recorded content within After Effects. In Scenario 2, the goal was to get the models textured and animated with the garments into Unreal so that I could record the 3D scenes under the same lighting conditions. Clo Virtual Fashion specializes in the development of 3D garment simulation. This is the foundational technology found within their two software products, Clo 3D and Marvelous Designer. To pattern this collection, I use Clo 3D. To animate, I use Marvelous Designer. These two products can be confusing since they share a common interface, but they have their differences. Marvelous Designer, the first software release, is used for the creation of cloth-based assets in CG animation in the gaming industry. Clo 3D is a more robust solution for the fashion industry because it offers distinct features which extend the software's capabilities into the design, development, and manufacturing process of real-world garment creation. Interestingly, despite some of the differences in software capabilities, the files between the two are interchangeable. What's so special about this is that it's entirely realistic to expect virtual production in the real world of fashion to come. If you're already building these patterns digitally for a manufacturer, then you already have the base for virtual production assets. Although, from my experience, it's not a common pipeline documented anywhere and took quite a bit of experimentation, along with an active Reillusion forum page presence. Next, I want to share with you what I have assembled towards the final deliverable, which right now features the interface and navigation design for the application. Where am I now? I'm sure you could guess there's so much more I could talk about with this workflow. Here's a current shot of the models and the garments textured, animated, and playing in sync within the engine. My next steps are to assemble the scenes and composite the footage. Here are the sources I used for this presentation, and thank you again for taking the time to watch this.